Welcome to Rebel Radio, conversations with allied health leaders about the careers that shaped them, not the bio, the backstory. Now today I'm here with Lauren Haskins, founder and director of a growing understanding of speech pathology across Newcastle, Lake Macquarie and Hunter region. Lauren has more than 15 years in the speech pathology profession. She's also the founder of Let's Grow Together, providing resources and training to paediatric speechies. And only recently, Lauren has been appointed as the General Director of Speech Pathology Australia. But that's the bio. Now let's find out the backstory. Lauren, welcome to Rebel Radio.
Thanks for having me. Always
How you
love
doing?
to have a
You
chat
alright?
with you.
I know.
Yeah.
It's actually quite nice I was very excited to get you on this pod because, especially after you've been appointed as the General Director for Speech Pathology Australia. I thought it'd be a great time to kind of get you on and chat about your life and a bit about your career and how you've kind of got to done all these amazing milestones over it. So yeah, it's been. I'm really excited for it.
Thank you. I'm really proud. I feel like the appointment as a General Director on the Board of Speech Pathology Australia has been a really nice progression in terms of my career. It was something I first became a member of Speech Pathology Australia as a student. And
when was that? How long ago was that?
You're really putting me on the spot. So I graduated from the University of Newcastle in 2005. So I graduated mid-year. I did part of a behavioural science degree in Adelaide. I grew up in South Australia.
Right. Amazing.
And, I didn't get the scores for speech pathology. I always wanted to be a speech pathologist and didn't get the scores for speech pathology. And so I did a year of behavioural science and then we moved. So my husband is a physiotherapist and he's a little bit older than me. He graduated from physiotherapy in Adelaide and he then got his first job up in Newcastle. And so I transferred my university from Adelaide up to Newcastle and I started my speech pathology degree there.
That's
so
amazing.
I graduated mid-year. So I graduated, it was around that sort of time. And then I graduated in 2005. So I became a speech pathology member, a student speech pathology member when I was studying.
Yeah.
And then so now to be recently appointed to the board just feels really like a really natural progression. Full circle, but I still think I've got more to go. But I'm so proud and
you should be.
And I really love the speech pathology profession.
Yeah.
I love being a speech pathologist and I love being able to contribute to the profession and to the association in this really meaningful way. And so I'm really proud of that. And I've contributed to the association in lots of different ways over the years, but to now do that in this role is really special.
And look, you should be very proud and you are very renowned in the industry. I think everyone who has met you would know how amazing you are as a speaker and also as a business owner and all the work that you do. So it definitely doesn't go unseen or unheard. Okay, so you should be very proud of what you've done.
Thank you. You're very kind.
I do appreciate your work though. I think it's important to and this is why we've started Rebel Radio in terms of the people like yourself who've gone out and are actually advocating and doing their best work for the industry. You should get I'm trying to give a bit of a platform for you guys to tell your stories and give an understanding so other people who don't know you might get to find out who you are and learn more about yourself as well. So and I think it's well deserved. I really do.
Yeah, thank you.
But let's go right back. So you jumped the gun a little bit.
I jumped the gun.
You got a bit excited and you're started telling me everything.
I haven't seen these questions.
I know. So before university, I want to know a bit more about Lauren before uni and how you kind of got into this speech pathology. So when you think about Lauren in high school, how would you describe her?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I met my now husband when I was in high school. We didn't go to school together, but...
That's like me and Georgia as well. How old were you guys when you met?
So I was 14 when I met my husband.
Oh, right.
So we both did competitive ballroom dancing.
Oh, right.
So we met through the dancing scene. We never danced together, but we had the same circle of friends.
Yeah.
As I said, he's 3 years older than me. So he was just finishing high school when I was in year 10.
Okay.
So for me as a high school student, so to answer your question about what I was like at school, I think I always found school challenging in the sense that I was all about the social aspect of school, which is really interesting. And I've had lots of conversations with people about the social aspect. I don't have any friendship groups that I've continued from school.
Yeah, interesting.
But I was all about the social side of things. And it was really only when I met my now husband. He is very academic, always has been. And so I then started to lean towards more academics in the later high school. So when going into year 11 and year 12, I really started to
Do you think it's because of his influence?
I think it really was. Like he always prioritised that, and he would be saying to me and to my parents, you know, Lauren, you've got to be studying, you've got to be focusing. And so that's part of, you know, he's been a big influence in how I've started to think about things. And then I think the other part is that I always knew that I wanted to work with children. I thought that I wanted to be a teacher, but I actually didn't want to be in a classroom. So I was really drawn to the School of the Air in the Northern Territory, and loved all of that different kind of service delivery. And again, it was only when my husband started to explore, you know, with me about what my career path would be like. So he's a physiotherapist, and he then said, have you thought about allied health, and have you thought about speech pathology? And as soon as I started to look into it, I was like, yes, I want to be a speech pathologist. So it was really from year 10, year 11 that I was really starting to think about speech pathology as a career path. And so when I didn't get the scores in year 12 for speech pathology, I did my behavioural science degree, and I did my year there simply so that I could transfer to speech pathology, because that was always the plan. So there's a lot of double up in terms of the subjects. So the plan was that I could get credit and to then be able to eventually go into speech pathology. So when we got the offer to move to Newcastle for his work, I actually got accepted into Flinders University in Adelaide, and we said, oh, we'll only be in Newcastle for 12 months, so we'll defer that. We're coming up to 25 years in Newcastle, so it was always the plan to do 1 year, and we've stayed there. We've now had our family there. I've established businesses there, so we're Newcastle people now. Like, you know, we're Novocastrians. So
not going back to Flinders then, I guess.
I don't think I'll accept that Flinders University deferment. So,
so good.
Yeah, and so I think I've always had that idea about working with children. Then, allied health, and I think and that's always appealed in that space.
That's really interesting, because, you know, we've had other guests before, and sometimes some have said, like, I've known exactly what I wanted, which I think is like kind of what you did at year 11, 12, is that you kind of knew speech pathology was the area you wanted to work in, and some people have no kind of idea. They're kind of like going through it, right? So the other question I had for you outside of school, because you said a bit about ballroom dancing, but was there anything else that you were kind of doing, or like any like passions or other things besides, I guess, the goal to get to speech pathology, or what were you doing?
Not really. I mean, I think the ballroom dancing consumed a lot of my life. You know, competitive ballroom dancing, I was training 5-6 days a week.
Were you competitive as well?
Yeah, I guess so we were competitive. So my parents are professional ballroom dancers.
Okay, sure.
And so my dad would be teaching while I was practicing. And so we would be doing that, you know, 5 and 6 times, you know, a week.
That's a lot.
You know, and competing most weekends. And
do you still do any of it now?
No. No. I think now I'd like to do a little bit more social, fun dancing, and
we'll talk about the time that you have on your day to day.
I think that's the thing, is trying to work out
when would
how
you
to
actually
fit
do
it in. But I do love it, and some of my oldest and dearest friends have come from that circle. Which I think is excellent.
That's awesome.
But no, so I didn't really get a chance to do too much in early high school kind of years, because it was all consuming, and then my social group was all around the ballroom dancing as well. So we were all very close and connected, and that's how I met my husband, because we were out partying together. You know,
that's incredible. No, it's fascinating. And I guess at the time, so you obviously knew you wanted to get into speech pathology. You finally got into university as well, and you know, started the degree. But what did success look like for you? Did you have an idea of what that would be? Like when you first studied, did you have an idea of where you wanted to get to?
No, not at all. And I think that it's something that I always struggle with, in the sense that, and I think that that's something as I get older, I'd like to be able to do a little bit more, is sit in the moment when you do have those milestones and when you do have something. I'm very goal orientated, so I very much like to have goals that I'm working towards and things of, you know, what I want to achieve, and I've always been like that. But I think as I'm getting older, actually celebrating those milestones, I think is really, is good to be able to do.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
interesting. No, good to know.
You know, on that, I think, you know, what does success look like? What's really interesting is, I think it changes in different seasons of your life. So you might be asking some of these questions too, so I don't know. But I think to speak to that in terms of, you know, what did success look like back then? And so when I went through university and I was just finishing, and I think your final year and that final placement period where you're doing lots of placements is really intense. And because I was living away from home, you know, in Adelaide, and living away from family, and I didn't have that bigger network of support that I'd grown up with, the placement period was really hard. And I got to the end, and I'd been working full time while I was at uni. So, and that was
what were you working?
So I managed a modelling agency.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So
and you did that straight, like for all your 4 years? How did that kind of eventuate?
Yeah. So probably from about second year. So I was working in retail, and then I started to do
a modelling agency.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was a modelling agency, and we taught grooming and deportment courses, and so I managed that, and so. When I got to fourth year, and it was really intense, and I found it really overwhelming, I was at this kind of crossroads where I was like, I could actually just continue working in the modelling agency and not actually utilise my degree, and I don't actually need a job. I don't actually need to work in speech pathology.
Wow.
And again, my husband, you know, I think you should use your degree, and he was working in a semi-rural regional hospital.
Right.
And fabulous place.
Yeah.
And he spoke with some of his speech pathology colleagues, and he was saying, Lauren's just about to graduate. She's thinking she might not want to work in speech pathology.
Can you convince her?
Are you able to look at, you know, what opportunities there might be and what have you? And they said, we can't get a speech pathologist to come out and work with us. We're looking for someone that can do just a 12-week locum.
There you go.
And so I went and did a 12-week locum at this regional hospital, and I ended up being there for 8 years.
Wow.
And
what's the hospital? Where was it?
It's Cessnock Hospital. So Cessnock Hospital, which is Hunter Valley.
Okay, sure.
So Hunter Valley, and it was a generalist position.
Yeah.
It is the most incredible position.
Yeah.
And I still am in contact with a lot of my allied health colleagues that are out there. We joke and say, you know, in the trenches of Cessnock and Curry, that's where we learnt our skills. But it was generalist. It was adult outpatients, adult inpatients, and paediatric.
So you got a whole encompassing.
So you got a whole mix.
Yeah, wow.
I had these incredible clinicians who had been working for years, and I felt so supported as a new graduate.
Yeah.
And so then once I was in, I was like, this is great.
You know, it's funny you say that, because like a 12-week locum, for example, and everyone says to me like, but I don't want to work for this amount of time, and I'm like, you might get more. And then look at your situation. You had 12 weeks and it was like 8 years, right?
You know, and the best 8 years, you know. I was only talking with a colleague the other day, and, you know, we often reminisce about our time out at Cessnock and Curry, and how much we learned, and I felt like that was really the foundation for my career.
Yeah, okay.
Because it helped me to work out where I wanted to go professionally and clinically, and that I did actually love being a speech pathologist. I think it was just that it was such a challenging time to balance working, placements, and, you know, that whole identity, like, is this actually what you want to do? And, you know, I think when I speak to colleagues from all over Australia and overseas as well, sometimes it's not about the profession itself. It's about the role and the alignment, and, you know, just the smallest little thing can make a big difference. So that was my
my
foundations.
Wow, that's incredible. And I want to rewind a little bit though,
Yeah.
real quick, because
I'll go on so many tangents.
I know, that's all right. It's really awesome. It's really interesting as well, because one question I wanted to ask was, like, you said that you were like managing the modelling agency. Do you think that you gained a lot of skills as a manager in that work? Because obviously you would have been, what, 21, maybe even younger, managing, right? Did you learn, how much skills did you learn, and have you taken that into like your career to this day?
Yeah, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And I think I'm probably only seeing some of the learnings coming through now when I've established my own businesses.
Yeah, right.
In terms of, the other roles that you need to take when you're establishing a business. You're not just, undertaking the professional role as a speech pathologist. You're having to do marketing and HR and finance and all of those things that I don't think, as a 21-year-old, I didn't realise
What
that
you're doing,
what I was doing.
Just doing it, right? Yeah,
And
okay.
I was working for somebody else's, someone else's business. But when I started to establish my business, I was like, I do know how to market, and I do know how to, and I do know how to do all of those kind of elements, and I do know how to work with a team. I think that work also has helped with the other business rather than the private practice with the Let's Grow Together in terms of events. I love events. It's what's exciting, and I think that was what the pull was to wanting to work in that line of things. It's exciting and it's fun, and I love connecting with lots of people in lots of different spaces, and so I think that's why I like that, and that's what I learnt from that. So there were certainly those transferable skills.
I wanted to talk a bit about that, is because when I speak to students as well, and a lot of students listen to the podcast, and will always, a lot of people want to work as an allied health assistant or want to work as a support worker, want to be in the healthcare field. But I do think that sometimes you get some really great skill sets and relevant skill sets in other areas of just anything, right? And the fact that you did something that was completely out of the healthcare world in a lot of ways and still have relevant skills to now in your own business. I think it's important to kind of like just touch on that, because as a student, you can work as an allied health assistant and it can help your career, but also just working in general will help your career, because you will gain some skills and learn some other things that you can bring into your speech pathology or your allied health career,
I think just working generally.
Yeah, I agree. I think
gives
you something, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've got teenage children now, and so
Are they
both
working?
of my children, not yet, but they both see my husband and I working, and he doesn't own his own business. He works for other organisations, but he sees us working, and he sees they see our work ethic, and they are already asking about jobs, and we're like, yes, do that, get that work, get that experience, because it's not even, in my case, it wasn't just that I got event experience or and very clearly identifiable, transferable skills. It's about how do you connect with people, and how do you relate to people, and what are some of the job skills that you actually get as
a worker. Yeah, exactly.
And so that's what I'm really excited for them to go out and do, whatever it is that they're doing, whatever part-time job it is, while they're working and they're connecting with people and they're learning about all of the job skills and what's involved with all of that. And I think that's so important.
It is, isn't it? You're right. Even you're right about even personal, like the connection with other people, just like learning about other people's lives and your colleagues and stuff. So it's a really good point. So when you were at university, what were your placement experiences like? It's always interesting to know what kind of like you went through as a student.
So Newcastle University, when I went through, they did a second year and fourth year, or second year, third year, fourth year placement. So the second year placement was your paediatric placement. That was in schools. So
Did you love it?
Loved it.
Yeah, because that was your passion, right? You wanted to get into it.
It was a passion area. And it was a new program at the time, and it's still continuing now, but I think we were the first cohort of students to go through in this particular student and this student placement. I was put on placement with my now best friend. So we went through uni together, and we did that placement together, still best of friends, and we did that placement together. We loved it. So it was a schools placement, one day a week. Had a fantastic clinical educator with just so much knowledge. And then third year I did a rehabilitation placement,
Yep.
so adult rehab. Again, excellent.
Yep.
It gave me a different perspective. It was local. It was in a hospital kind of setting, but it was more of a rehabilitation,
Yep.
not acute setting. And then I did a little bit of the inpatient adult side of things in third year placements. And then in fourth year, they were probably my main memorable placements, because I think that's where you're working for 5 days a week
Yeah, of
for
course.
5
Yeah.
and 6 weeks. So I did a community health placement,
Yep.
which was in a local community health setting in public health, and I ended up working there down the track
right.
in that same
Interesting.
that same role, which
Yep.
was interesting.
Yeah.
And then I did a Sydney placement, and I think that was really so working in working
Living
and living in Newcastle. I went and stayed in Sydney, and I worked in a hospital, but again it was in a rehab kind of.
How did you find that?
I found it really hard. I was
It was completely different, wasn't it?
completely, and I wasn't able to work. I was staying in nursing accommodation, so having to take a break from work, being away from my husband as well as any family and friends, and
Very
just
isolating.
doing the placement.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy it,
No.
and I found
Did it make you feel like about hospitals again? Like, because obviously you started working as a hospital as a new grad. Did it make you kind of like bit question? Like, is this going to be the right fit for me?
I think that was part of it,
Yeah.
and I think it was, I knew that I didn't want to work away. I wanted to stay local, and I wanted to do something that was in Newcastle. But
Interesting, yeah.
I didn't mind the caseload, but I didn't see myself in that kind of a role.
Okay.
And then I did a disability placement.
Okay.
And so the disability placement was back when, it was the block funded disability service, and it was great, and it was excellent, and excellent clinical educator. I could see myself working in that kind of a setting, but it was also, it felt out of reach. Like your health and your disability services felt like there weren't any opportunities to go into those. For whatever reason, but I ended up working for health, and so that's how it ended up happening. But it just felt so out of reach. So it didn't feel like it was connected to what I was capable of doing.
No, it's fascinating, really interesting. So you've done a lot of different practices. You kind of got a bit of a good mix of everything too. What was it like being on the first day of the job and the first year of your job as well? How did it feel being a new grad?
So I'll try to answer that with really honest response.
Yeah, please.
I cried every single day. I found it so overwhelming.
What was overwhelming?
So I think it's like what we see with many of our new graduates that I now
Just the
support.
cognitive load of the work?
The paperwork and being able to manage the administration load. I was taking files and writing files and and staying back really late just to complete everything and to get it all done. I had a supervisor who worked with me, and she's now one of my dearest friends, so I can tell you this. She made me cry like every day. She was so hard on me, and she taught me so much. And she was so hard on me in the sense of, I think she had really high expectations, and I was not delivering on those high expectations. And I don't think she necessarily meant to make me cry every day, but I would come home and I would say,
have you told her that since then?
Oh yeah, she knows. She knows,
Like,
because now
sorry.
we joke about working together, and I was like, I can't work with you.
You make me cry again.
I can't work with you because you'll tell me what to do and I won't like it. I think.
It's fascinating though, isn't it? Like
it's really fascinating, and I think she would never have known that. At the time, she would never have known that that's what she was. How I felt, but I think it.
Were you the only new grad at the?
I was. It was a really. So it started off. I was a new graduate coming in just to do the short-term locum, and we had really experienced team of whole allied health. Were all very experienced and established. And so it was really hard to be the new person coming in.
For sure.
But it was also really hard because I didn't know anything. I thought that I knew a bit. I knew nothing, and I, so. This particular friend laughs now, because I remember being called up to the ward and having to assist with a laryngectomy patient who had been admitted, and I had to work with the physio to be able to do the laryngectomy care. I had done my placements and done some laryngectomy care, but I hadn't actually done that, in person. She talked me through it, and she wasn't on site at the time, but she talked me through it, and we did some work around it, and I knew theoretically what to do,
but
practically doing it. And I vomited afterwards because it was, and that's when I realized I didn't want to do adults, was because I didn't want to do laryngectomy care. But I was so supported to do that because she helped me from a speech pathology professional perspective. I knew exactly what I needed to do going in there. And then I had an excellent physio who was right by my side doing that laryngectomy care, who was also really experienced and had done that with her. And so, I did the laryngectomy care. I'm sure I did an okay job, went away and then vomited because I was like, ugh. And I was like, no, this is not for me.
Yeah.
But I think it was so much to learn.
Yeah.
So I think the overwhelm came from so much to learn. I felt so under pressure, and I've always had this big feeling of not being enough, and so that's where I have a lot of goals, but it's that I'm not good enough.
When did that change? When did it start feeling like you could do it, and when you started feeling like you're actually becoming?
I don't think it does.
Oh, really?
I don't think it does.
So you never actually felt like that?
No, I think because you can always do things better, and you can I've very much got that growth mindset.
You keep getting better and better.
When you were saying about that, what does success look like?
Yeah.
For me, it's never enough.
I have the same feeling as well.
Yeah. So I think it's a little bit like that with success, but I don't ever think that I know it all, or I feel completely.
Do you think that comes back to? And I know this is very psychological, but but do you think it goes back to even when you were ballroom dancing as younger, and from a competitive standpoint, just wanted to keep getting better and better and better. That's kind of also kind of gone into your career as well. That nothing is really satisfying in terms of because you still want to get better and better and be the best, essentially.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what it?
Potentially, but I think the other thing is that I've been recently diagnosed, or in the last few years, autistic ADHD.
Right.
And so I think a lot of me growing up, not knowing diagnoses and being aware of it, but I think I have this, I like that sense of looking at I do things well. So I mask and I fawn and I do all of those things to make sure that I'm doing things well. So it's part of the growth mindset of I want to keep growing, I want to keep doing better. But I think it's also those elements for me that are always kind of there as part of that. And I think the other thing too is that idea of rejection sensitivity, wanting to be liked, all of those kind of things that also comes in there.
I want to ask you that.
Yeah.
You said that you got diagnosed recently, how long ago?
A few years ago.
Why did you go through that process? What were the because and I'll be honest as well.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like I might have some ADHD because I think I do.
Yeah.
I haven't been diagnosed yet. I should go through the testing. I think I might get it. And I think it's important for people to hear about why you've done it and the reasons why. Because for me now, as a business owner myself, I'm realizing that it's impacting my day to day because there's so many things happening. I'm just kind of blocking, my days being blocked and blanked. So why did you do it? And I guess what are some of the learnings from it as well?
It's a really personal journey. So what I would say is don't feel the pressure to go through a diagnostic process.
Okay.
I think that's been my reflection, is that I went through the diagnostic process because I wanted to know. I always suspected, I always knew, but I wanted to know because I wanted to fit in, because everybody was going through diagnostic processes and they wanted to,
I should do it too. I got it. I should do it too.
So my son is neurodivergent, and we were having those conversations, and I was saying, oh yes, I've always said it's always on your dad's side of the family, and then my son started to say, is it though, Mum? Is it actually, or we're pretty similar? And I was like, yeah, we are actually pretty similar.
Interesting. So do you think you did it more for your kid as well, and for them to for your son to understand as well? I
don't think I did.
No?
I don't think I did it necessarily for him it is certainly helpful,
Yeah,
to have those conversations, and it's
100%.
really validating for him too. But I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
for me, I think it was more so that I felt like I wanted to fit in and find my people and
Interesting.
to get more of that sense of self.
Right.
But interestingly, since I've got my diagnosis, I realise that even if I've got the same diagnosis as someone, doesn't mean that we're going to be friends.
Yeah, 100%.
And
Yeah.
and just
So
because
to
we've
live
got
the
the
same-
same labels, we've
Yeah.
still got really different brains.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's been really validating in itself to kind of. So I think where I say it's a really personal journey, I think you've got to know what you want to get out of that process. For me, it's helped me to know a little bit more about myself and to be a little bit more aware about how I can use my strengths and part of that goal process to go, well, what are the things getting in the way for me? So I think it's been really validating. I don't, it's still a part of a process for me where I don't necessarily, I share it with people because it's part of who I am, and it puts another lens on some of the interactions that people have with me, because I get a lot of that makes a little bit of sense, like
With George and my wife, and she's like, that will make a lot of sense if that is the case too. I get that.
It kind of gives people a little bit more context
sure.
to who I am, and I'm all about that authentic connection. So I feel sometimes when we get to the point where I go, I just need to explain myself a little bit in terms of to give you some context and to give you some bits and pieces. So anyway,
cool.
so I think that the process of going through diagnosis for that neurodivergent profile is more, I think, if you've got a reason for going down that path,
to go down that path,
and if it's going to be helpful, if it's going to give you something. So I think there's no point just getting a label for the sense of
100%.
like a label. What's it going to give you? And for me, I went through a really comprehensive process because I didn't just want a label. I wanted to know what my strengths and weaknesses were. And so 100%. I think that that's a big part of it. So I think, and that's what it really gave me. And so now,
I love that.
When
that's
I'm
really cool.
when I'm reflecting on things,
certain things you can go.
I can go. Which parts are the parts that, and some of it is my neurodivergent brain. Other parts is just who I am, and it's just my personality or my history and my experiences, and I think that's what makes it so good to be able to go through that process, is to be able to
kind of like pick it out. I like that. That's really awesome. And I think I'm the same as you. It's more like I don't really want a title or a label, but I want to be able to like know when things are like why are things happening, or what if I'm acting like this, is that because it's me, my personality, or is that because there's something else that maybe is affecting that too, right? And in positive and negative ways as well. So I completely agree. Yeah, that's awesome. I want to head into more of the the leadership side of things, right? Because I think your leadership and your the seniority side of work has been amazing, and I really want to kind of get into that. So how long did it take for you to get into, you obviously were working as a speech pathologist in areas, and I don't want to kind of skip anything, but how did you get to become a senior speech pathologist and started leading a team?
I never wanted to lead a team.
No?
It was not something, and when I built a growing understanding and started a growing understanding, it was never meant to be what it is today.
Tell us about it. Let's go.
So I guess I'll try and do the quick
version. Go the full. I want to hear it, because this is I would rather have this. This is really important.
So I started the career in the generalist position, and then I realised that I really wanted to hone in on my skills, particularly in early communication. So I was undertaking lots of professional development in that space, trying to get lots of experience. So all of my caseload, I was starting to niche into that. I was starting to run quality improvement projects throughout the health service to get into that space. I then started to look for roles that were closer to home. So I was travelling about 45, 50 minutes to work each day. So I started to look for roles closer to home. And I got a position in community health, but it was in the closer Newcastle community health, which is where I did my placement.
Right.
And then there came some opportunities to work across different sectors and different services. So I worked in a really incredible position, and it was working across not-for-profit health and disability. And we were running supported play groups, and I was the speech pathologist that was running this collaborative play group. And I really started to niche into that early intervention space, and I started to do a lot more quality improvement and advisory kind of work in that role, which was incredible. And then alongside that, I was also working in the student unit.
Yeah.
And the student unit was supporting second year speech pathology placements. And we
Right.
did a lot of collaboration with the university. And that was a great introduction to being able to support
Yeah.
students and novice clinicians.
Mm.
I then went and had my son and went off on maternity leave. And when I came back from maternity leave with him, I was working in that split role again, and a really unique position came up. They essentially created the role for me. My manager at the time created a role for me, and it was a early intervention clinical specialist role.
Right.
So across it was the only position of its type in New South Wales.
Yeah, it didn't sound very like a common position, does it?
It was a really unique role. So it was the only one of its type in New South Wales Health, and I was providing supervision and support to other speech pathologists in early childhood intervention. So in that 0 to 5 and complex communication. So I was providing second opinions, differential diagnosis. I worked in like a diagnostic team, and I was still working in that play group and really providing support, which was incredible.
Was this like your first time of because I know with your other business and providing the professional development, was this when you started to kind of get a passion for that area?
Yeah, most definitely. So I realized that I loved supervising and supporting other clinicians. And I realised I loved that early communication piece, and I loved that collaboration across sector.
Yeah.
Then I went off on maternity leave and had my daughter. There's only 18 months between them. And so when I came back from maternity leave with my daughter,
and it's also a different time. I suppose 18 months and coming back from that, you know what I mean? Like your two kids are very young, right? So
they were really young at the time. It's not easy.
No.
But it was also when NDIS was coming into play. The Hunter was a trial site for NDIS.
What year was this, like 2018?
So my daughter was born in 2013.
2013. Oh, okay. So this is real early. Yeah, okay, sure.
So it was an NDIS trial site. And so a lot of that work that I was doing in the early childhood intervention space was exactly what they were looking at. And it was transitioning the health service with NDIS. And so it became this, really.
This went very early on.
It was like early days of the NDIS. It was, And so it was around that time, around 2014, that I applied for a position with a Canadian not-for-profit organisation called Hannon. And so Hannon is, they provide programs for speech pathologists about how to work with families with children who have language difficulties under 3 who aren't yet talking. In a nutshell, they do lots of other great work. They were a program who I'd been trained in as a clinician, as a new graduate, and been implementing their programs for a number of years. I applied for a role to be an instructor to train other speech pathologists in delivering this program, and I was successful with the role with that. So I was working part-time for health, part-time for Hannon, and then health said to me, you've got to make a choice. What do you want to do? You've got to start making a choice. I delayed it. I kept delaying what the choice was. I then got offered a consultancy role doing fly-in, fly-out work on the detention centre in Nauru.
Wow.
So I was seeing asylum seekers and refugees and providing services, fly-in, fly-out.
How did you find that job? How did that happen?
It's a whole other podcast, Chris. So these are...
mate, that's insane. Wow.
So I had the Hannon role and the Nauru role. The Nauru role is so unique.
And, I've never heard of that.
I think I haven't met another speech pathologist who's gone on to the detention centre and worked in that environment. And it was
how long were you doing that for?
12 months. So I was on and off for 12 months and fly in, fly out for that. And it was the most intense position I've ever done.
Imagine. And I can't imagine actually. That'd be a whole nother level of that's like you said, probably a whole podcast.
It's a whole other podcast. And so I was doing a lot of this consultancy work. And so, and I wanted to provide supervision and support as my main thing. I also, health was really restrictive in what they were able to provide for me in terms of childcare. So my children were
Right.
in preschool.
Yeah.
So, and the preschool hours
Yeah.
were shorter than what my health
Yeah.
days were, and they wouldn't allow me flexibility. And my
Right.
husband was working for New South Wales Health, and he couldn't have the flexibility. So I said to him, could I start doing some private days where I'm providing supervision and support and education to other speech pathologists?
And did you have people like kind of inquiring you about that? Or
so they inquired about it. And I think because I was doing that in health, I felt quite comfortable and I was experienced in doing it.
Yeah.
So they were asking me about it, and I thought, well, I can just do some private consultation kind of days, and I'm already doing some consultations.
Just do a few people here and there.
Yeah.
How did that grow quick?
So that's what a growing understanding was. It was a growing understanding was professional development and supervision for pediatric speech pathologists. And then nobody wanted it. So I opened it and nobody wanted it. And I was thinking, well, what am I going to do on these couple of days? And there was a huge wait list. And I was like, well, I might just start seeing clients privately. And so I started to see clients in a friend's psychology practice. And then within 6 months, I was at capacity on 3 days a week, and I couldn't service anyone more. So I put an advertisement out to see if we could get speech pathologists to come and join me. And I brought on 2 clinicians. Melissa was my very first clinician, and she worked with me up until the end of last year. And then love
her. How long ago? What was the year that you started?
2016. She came on. So I opened the practice in 2016. She came on board at the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, and then she finished with me in 2025. And she is still the most incredible human, and she was the biggest.
8 years,
she was the biggest gift, and she left because of family reasons. And we still catch up, and we still have a lot of a lot of crossover, and I'd love to have her back at any time.
So Melissa, if you're watching,
Melissa, come back. And then I had Jess, who started, and she was a new graduate. She started a couple of months after Melissa, and so then and Jess was with me for years as well, and kept up a really great relationship with the 3 of us.
So you didn't even really wanted to do the clinical stuff. You kind of it just felt like there was a passion there for the support.
Always.
And then. So how did that come back again?
So the team grew really quickly. So I across the pandemic, around the 2020 to 2022 kind of mark, the practice got up to 4 locations and nearly 50 team members.
Wow.
So it grew really quickly. And too much, and it was too hard, and I wasn't a good leader across that time. I was not a good
Why do you say
practice owner. It was a toxic environment. I let too much of the quality slip. Some bad hires, misaligned values, and as a result, my values slipped, and I was too busy to track that. So
that's very interesting.
I didn't like it. And so now we are a 2 clinic site. And
how big is the team now?
Just over 25. So about 25. And so. And it's a good size, and I'm happy with that size. And and it's still got the basis of having a really big focus on support, supervision, access to education.
It's a good number, isn't it?
It's a good space, and so I'm really happy with that. So that's kind of the long story of how it kind of got to being. It was supposed to be professional development and supervision. We kind of sidestepped to go into a private practice, but then it sidestepped and then went into its own thing. And then I guess what happened is during the pandemic, when we weren't able to see clients, and we were looking at, well, what can we be doing to diversify, and what can we be doing? We had a couple of projects. So I had a speech pathologist on my team whose sister is an illustrator. And she wanted to start developing some resources that were Australian vocabulary and Australian pronunciation. So I said, okay, well, let's do that then. And so we built those resources, and then we were looking at workshops that we could develop in-house, and we looked at what events that we could host and those kind of things. I was like, well, let's do that because we can't see clients. So let's start building some of those things. And then the pandemic kind of sorted itself out. We went back to seeing clients, but we still had these workshops that we'd developed. We had, events that we'd planned, and we had these resources that we'd developed. And that's how Let's Grow Together got started. So that side hustle, the projects, is now its own separate business, because that business, Let's Grow Together, is not for parents, it's not for families, it's for clinicians. And so I guess,
separate.
completely separate.
You sound to a different, you sound to a different client, really.
So Let's Grow Together is designed for pediatric speech pathologists, and it provides resources, training and support for professionals. So we've got our physical resources that we produced during that time, and really proud of those, and they're fabulous. But we've also got some really great resources, training. We bring speakers in for events, and we do in-person events as well as online events. And we have got our community, which is the Greenhouse, which is a community and learning hub for pediatric speech pathologists. So they have access to that professional training and resources. And so that's how that kind of came together. And so I think...
Yeah, that's amazing. That's such a great story. Like even that, we've kind of, I know you said it's a long part, like we could go through so many parts of that and have a conversation about, but that is such an amazing, like the way you kind of just got into it and done that is just incredible. Yeah, it's so cool.
Thank you. So I'm proud of both, and for different reasons.
Definitely.
For different reasons. The speech pathology private practice. I'm so proud of the incredible care that we provide to families in the Newcastle region. I know that we're providing the best speech pathology practice.
Congratulations. I've talked about it at the start, but congratulations. You've stepped into the role of General Director at Speech Pathology Australia. Firstly, what made you put your hand up for the opportunity? What was the reason for that?
Next goal, professional milestone for me was the big thing. So I actually set it as a goal a couple of years ago, and I completed the Australian Institute of Companies Directors course. And I did that self-paced, which I don't recommend. Sorry, AICD, I don't recommend doing it self-paced because I just don't have the discipline to be able to do it quickly.
How did it take?
It took the full 2 years that I had available and then some. I need a deadline. So, that this idea of do it at your own pace, I was like, just give me a deadline, and because I used every last second of that deadline and whenever it was due. And so I think I think the final assessment, they said, submit it on this particular date in case you need to resit, in case you fail or whatever. That was the date that I submitted. Thankfully, I didn't need to resit, but that was my date. So I started that director's course because I wanted to, I as I said at the outset, I love speech pathology and I love being a speech pathologist, and I've contributed to the association in lots of different ways over the years, in working groups and being involved to the level that I can. And I felt like that was the next thing, is I didn't know what else I could be involved with if it wasn't the board.
Of course.
And so what I wanted to do was upskill to be qualified to be able to provide that level of support, because it's a really important role.
It is,
and it's actually
100%.
a role that I think as speech pathologists, we don't understand what you actually do as a board. And essentially what we do is we set the strategy and the direction of the association. And as an association, and as a sector, we're in a really difficult time right now. There's so much changing in our sector and in life.
And that's why it's so interesting that you put, because putting your hand up in this moment in time is not like just like this is just gonna be an easy breeze and you're just gonna kind of go through it. It's like, it's pretty important. It's not a role that should be taken lightly, especially the way the sector's going as well.
I think my reasoning is that it is an important time and it is going to be really hard, and I don't think this is going to be an easy thing to do. But I think I've got that experience
Yeah,
in terms
definitely.
of my professional experience
Yeah.
across sectors,
Definitely.
in terms of different types of businesses,
Absolutely.
as well as now the qualifications to do it. I've sat on, I've sat on other boards in terms of, and that's again other podcasts that we can look into in terms of.
We can do a whole series.
We can do a whole series. For me, I said it the other day that, in a meeting, one of my love languages is acts of service. And so the way that I like to show up is through acts of service.
Yep.
And so I think acts of service for me is about contributing and about assisting. And so one of the things that I really want to do is to contribute. And so I think I'd like to contribute to the direction of the association at this really critical time.
Yeah.
And I want to provide that voice for private practitioners. I want to be able to show the diversity of our profession and to be able to talk about how fabulous our profession is. 100%. And so that's why I wanted to do it. And I didn't know how the process would go. So grateful to have been appointed.
Yep.
And now's where the fun stuff and the hard work begins. Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so like amazing, because you are like from like what you've done in your career, and also what, this role is like kind of needs. It's someone could easily just go, oh, maybe like, they want to put their, like, I guess, hand up to kind of like fail or something like that. But you've gone in there and you've gone like, no, this is what I'm going to do. And like, I think it's amazing. I think it's, I actually think it's incredible that you've got it, and I'm really excited to see what happens as well. But I want to talk about the split of time now, because like you basically got 3 different roles, like, and pretty big roles as well. You're also a mum with kids and a wife, so you have family as well, which is also a big role. How are you? How do you do this? How does it all work?
I don't think I do it well.
Because it's incredible, really.
Have you seen The Devil Wears Prada? Where he talks about where if you get a promotion at work, that your personal life is going up in flames.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, kids.
I have an incredibly supportive husband, and my children are really supportive as well. And I think that that's part of it. I don't think you can do well at work unless you've got that, solid and
a stable foundation, right?
That solid foundation and base. So I think that's one thing. I think that that's important.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is being very clear with and intentional about where you're spending your time. And I think that's what I was going to say before in terms of how I structure my time. And if I'm committing to something, I need to be committing to it, and I need to be all in. So I think the way that I structure my time now is that I have 2 days that I'm in the practice. So I spend one day at one site and one day at the other site, and I'm available when they need me outside of that, but actually physically present, that's when I'm there. The other days, I tend to spend 1 or 2 days with Let's Grow Together. Evenings. Evenings is when I tend to do a fair bit of work. I've got a really great camera light, so that's where that's where I record a lot of my content is in the evening, because I can't capture the daylight. There's not enough hours in the daylight. And I'm actually, I keep saying, and I really am in my AI era right now, and that's helped me a lot in terms of setting up systems and automations and really helping with some of my time. So I think being really intentional about where my focus is and my energy, and being really clear about what I commit to and what I'm not. And in terms of my priorities, at the end of the day, and I say this, that my family are my priority. So if anything is needed for them, everything else can wait.
100%.
So if we've got an event at school, or if my husband is away for work, or if that is where I need to be and that's what I need to be doing. My children are older now, and so they're starting to get a little bit more independent. But I think that you need to have one, you need to be
Yeah.
able to prioritize.
Yeah,
and so
that's
you
the
need to
one.
be working out what is the priority
Yeah.
in any given day, and they will always be the priority. So
Yeah.
I think when we're scheduling anything, it has to always be, well,
Around
how
what they're
does
doing.
this fit
Yeah.
and how does it
Makes
all
sense.
work with the family? And then I think then the other things about you focusing and being intentional with
Yeah.
what you take on, and I think I'm getting better at that as I'm getting older, older and wiser.
Well, it would be,
not
yeah.
really, but I think it's
Because I struggle with it now with young family. It's hard,
really
right? It's really hard
It's
because I
really
want to
hard.
prioritize family as much as I do, and I think I do a good job of it. But there are times when you see yourself like you're filling cups. Like if you think of it, like all cups, there are cups that are getting filled over more than others, and then it's like trying to juggle those cups as well, and family, friends, business, like all these things. It's hard to kind of get an idea, and that's why I'm like, wow, you must be juggling a lot of cups, right?
I actually feel like
But it sounds like you're doing pretty well.
I feel like I'm better at it now than what I've ever been.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm a lot more intentional
Yeah,
about it,
of course.
and I'm very selective about where I spend my
Who gets your
energies,
time.
and I also and who gets my time. Like I have a really tight group of friends,
Yep.
and I'm very intentional about where I spend my time and my
Yeah.
energy, and
Yeah.
and being focused on what my goals are
Yeah.
and what are the priorities. I think it's hard.
Yeah, I
It's
bet
hard,
it wouldn't be easy, but good. I guess
yeah.
it's right though, because then you would be present in all those moments because you have prioritized those moments as well.
Yeah.
So you kind of give it your full self to it, and then you kind of like you said. I guess it takes a bit of time to get there though. It would take a bit. So at the start, I asked about the success of your career. What is it now? How has the definition of success changed over all these years? And yeah, what is it now?
It's a hard one. It's a good question.
Mm.
It's a really good question. And I think I partly answered before when I was saying that I find success really hard.
But I feel like when you start talking about your journey as well, and you start talking about it through the podcast, you start to realise what successes were at certain points too. So
and I think you only realise it in reflection, and I think
do.
that's
That's
where I
why.
was saying before.
That's why I wanted you to answer it like, don't answer this now. Like, wait till you talk a bit more about what you've done,
I think success for me now is having choice. And I think the choice is in anything that I do is a luxury. I think, and I talk about this with my children quite a lot. I've worked really hard to get to the point where I can choose how I spend my days.
Yeah.
And I can choose when I work
who you
and
want
who
with.
I want
Yeah.
to. So I think that choice.
I love that. That's great.
Is the success for me, and I think I'm at that point. And like what I said in terms of being really intentional.
Yeah.
I think it's an opportunity, and I think and I'm so grateful that I have that choice, because I think that in itself
That's a fantastic success though. Like if you really think about choice, like you get to choose like all of that.
I get to choose
How
what I do.
amazing is that?
I get
What
to
a
choose
success
what
that
I do
is.
and how I spend my time and where I spend my time.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And I think
What a
that
great
is,
success.
I think
That's amazing.
So for me, that is the success in that.
That's awesome.
I think, and it's hard to quantify that because I want a number. Like I want,
a numerical
I want a
figure
really
or
objective
whatever.
measure, because sometimes you don't even know when you've hit it. And I
Yeah,
think that's the
definitely.
point where I was saying it's really hard because that goalpost can always shift. But if I ever get to the point where I feel locked into something, I think that's probably where I feel like I'm failing.
Yes, okay.
So I think, that choice I think is probably the success for me.
Wow, that's a really good answer.
I'm not about what success looks like, because I think so I'm a very private person, so as much as I have to use social media for my businesses.
How do you find that? Do you find that to be hard?
I find it really hard, and I find it
because
really...
I'm the same. I don't like to point my kids out and stuff as well. I'm like,
So both of my children are 13 and 14. My son is nearly 15. They don't have their own phones.
Yeah.
They don't actually, they're not on social media. My husband doesn't have social media. I post on social media because I need to for business, but on my personal profiles I don't.
Yeah.
So I find it really challenging, but it's really, I think sometimes success can sometimes be distorted by what you see on social media and what you see as being a particular thing.
Yeah.
And so I think you
Nothing
sometimes
tangible.
I think sometimes you create this idea of they must be really successful,
Yeah.
they must be doing
Yeah.
really well. And they may, for whatever their definition of success is.
Yeah.
So I think you have to be really clear.
Exactly. That's why
on
I
what
like to
you
ask,
want.
and that's why I ask people about success, because like the truth is, I think every answer that we've probably had on Rebel Radio has been different, and I'm sure they're all everyone's successful because that's their measure of success. Along the journey, what are some of the lessons that you've learned and that have stuck with you the most?
I think I've had lots of really influential people in my life, and I think I go back to that in terms of the people aspect. Like I'm very people focused in the sense that
For sure.
I think for me it's about finding your people. I think that and finding the people that will help and hinder you. So I think, I think that I'm going to butcher this saying, but people are, friends who are with you for a season, a reason, and a lifetime. Yeah. So people are with you for a season, a reason, and a lifetime. And I think sometimes people are with you for a reason, and I think the life lesson has been, what is that reason? Because if it's not a positive reason, there has to be something that you get out of that, that situation, or
something has to happen because of it.
There needs to be some learning or something that comes from that. So I think that's something that I've learned. And then people who are with you for a season, it's also just being able to recognise that it's okay if people move on from that. So I think that's
a great saying, isn't it?
It is a great saying, but I think you've got to make sure that you learn from each of those experiences 100%. And trying to,
understand,
and it might not be until you've had some time and space to be able to reflect upon that.
Definitely.
So I think that's probably been I think you said what's the lesson, but I think that's it for me, is about the people and the people that you come across in life is working out where they fit, and going back to what I was saying about being intentional. It's then working out where to invest and where to spend your energy and time. Are you investing in people who are going to be a reason, a season, or for life?
I love that. Great answer. I love it. If someone is listening to this, I can remember one thing from the conversation. What do you hope that it is?
I think it's just being open to opportunities and not being closed off at ideas because you thought that it wasn't aligned with what you wanted or needed. I think so much of life at the moment feels transactional. Like, what can this person give me, or
I agree.
what can I get, or those kind of things. But I think being open to experiences, opportunities, meeting people, because you never know. You never know where that may lead, and you don't necessarily know what you need and how it aligns. So I think,
agree, and that's where I think treating people with like kindness as well, and like being. That's something that I'm trying to work on in a lot of ways, but like, just treating people with like you don't know everyone's story, and you also don't know what people are going through or what they're about. So like having a conversation and finding out about them, and like you said, you just never know where people end up.
I always stand by the treat others as you would like to be treated. The golden rule, right?
100%.
The golden rule, and I
love
think
that.
It goes across because it shouldn't feel transactional. It is so important to me to have genuine connections with people, but not because I want something or need something from that, or
and a lot of people move like that too. A lot of people do move like that, and then that's when you find. And I think before you said like finding who's the season, who's the reason, and who's the lifetime, right? And you kind of know that like these are people who are doing like this. So
and you have aligned people around you.
You do,
They like attracts like, and I really believe that. So
good answer. Now last one. So Lauren, real or rebel, Speech Pathology Australia is at the most pivotal point in its existence.
Oh, these are the tough questions.
Yeah, I know.
Real.
Okay. Explain why. Give us a bit of a reason why. You don't have to think about it as well if you want to.
I think that as a society, we are at a really dynamic point in terms of technology and AI,
Yeah.
and we're seeing a societal shift in how we operate.
Yeah.
And I think that as an association that has been such a long-standing association that we have an opportunity. I like to speak in terms of opportunity, and I think we've got an opportunity to look ahead and to be responsive and even beyond responsive, to be progressive in terms of how we're heading as a society and being modern in that space. So not only around technology and AI, but also thinking about how this is shifting as a society in terms of all the reforms and what that means for our communities. And I think it's a really pivotal time because of all of the external factors that are at play, that we as an association have such an opportunity to be able to influence and to be able to impact what happens out in our community, to be able to showcase and to be able to highlight the importance of speech pathology across the lifespan.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. Lauren, thank you so much for being on Red Bull Radio.
Thank you.
I mean, I love you as a person as much, and this has been one of the best interviews we've had. So, I really appreciate all your time. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.